Hey guys, we're back with another video, and today we're going to be talking about the tips that you should take when it comes to owning your Ae92. Now, if you're here for the first time, be sure to subscribe if you want to see more cool Ae92 content just like this one. Let's get into it. Cool, so maybe you've had your Ae92 for a minute, or you're just getting yourself into one. Now, don't be afraid. Let's go ahead and tell you some tips and, talk to you about what you should know about owning these Ae92s. Now, when it comes to these Ae92s, whether it's the coupe or it's the wagons, they're very difficult to source parts. Now, what I mean by that is, sometimes, especially with the coupes, the body parts can get rare to find. Like, you can't find, the fenders, the hoods, even the lids right here, the motors to them, especially these corner lights, front bumpers, rear bumpers, etc. They don't make new parts for these cars, so they're getting a lot harder to find. And like I said, especially these fenders and corner lights. Now, all body parts aside, other parts are really hard to find as well. Like when we move towards the 4AGE, it's hard to source things like this exhaust header. This is an aftermarket exhaust header, and they're not even really being sold often now. This is an OBX header, and a lot of people can't even find them for the 1.6 liter 4AGE. Now, when it comes to the mechanical aspect, you can find most of these things on places like Rock Auto, sometimes Amazon, eBay's a little iffy, but you could find these parts on, main places like Rock Auto. Now, that's all for the mechanical aspects like the CV axles, the engine components, braking components, rear brake lines, things like that. You could find mechanical components for these cars on Rock Auto, so definitely go ahead and check that out. When it comes to the aftermarket support, especially with the GTS, you can mainly find some of these uprising websites that have aftermarket parts for the 4AGE, but keep in mind they may be pricey. Now, how pricey depends on what website. Now, when it comes to the websites like Man and Racing Products, they're really good. They have a lot of 4AGE components and a lot of support there, but they're very expensive. There's other ones like Master Speed Racing that supports the 4GE engine. There's some vague sites that have some stuff for the Ae92, like Techno Toy Tuning has some coilovers and stuff and such for the Ae92 as well. If you want to see any more of those websites, I'll link them down below in the description, so definitely check them out. Regardless of what Ae92 you may have, this is one of the common things that a lot of Ae92 owners face, and a lot of the Ae92s I've owned, I've had these issues in. Now, the first being the brake master cylinder. So, for example, when I replaced my brakes, bled everything, I was still feeling a very steady pedal, to the floor. It wouldn't brake properly. I had to, pump the brakes. It was really steady. Once I replaced the brake master cylinder, fixed it, and snap. It was really great, awesome. So definitely check out replacing your master cylinder if you're feeling really steady brake pressure and things of the sort. It wouldn't hurt to go ahead and do your brake booster as well, since you're already in town for it. Now, since we're in the area of the brake master cylinder and brake booster, let's talk about the clutch master cylinder. Now, the clutch master cylinder generally goes out. If not, if you're not feeling it already, it's slowly doing it. Usually on the inside, if you look, under your steering wheel and at the pedals, if you see fluid leaking down, that's generally the clutch master cylinder leaking through the seals every time you depress the clutch. So go ahead and replace those. They're fairly easy. Now, keep in mind, guys, everything is flipped. This is a right-hand drive car, so the clutch master cylinder and the brake booster is going to be on this side, not this side. So, just keep that in mind. Just didn't want to confuse you guys. Speaking of issues, some issues that you may run into is overheating issues. Now, generally, it might be the fan not clicking on. If it's not clicking on, flip this open, and it's generally this relay right here. Switch them out for maybe this one and test to see if the fan works. Make sure it's connected and everything like that. If not that, check the ground over here behind. Check that temperature sensor ground. It's right over here. It's hard to see, but make sure it has a really good connection, because sometimes those sensors don't read properly. And then lastly, make sure you have coolant and you burp out the system, making sure you don't have air in the system and stuff like that. Another cool tip is this is actually unscrewable, and this is where, you open it up and you can flush the system, the coolant system, and let air out. So it's pretty cool. Now, if you need to adjust your idle, the idling screws right here. Sometimes if you're having really bad issues, you can't get it to idle really good, you could disconnect the sensor and see if the idle fixes. If it fixes, it's generally that sensor that's bad. Also, if you're having a charging issue, sometimes it may not be the alternator. Sometimes the alternator is good and the grounding to the alternator is bad, or sometimes the clips connecting to the alternator break and, they disconnect, so the alternator is not charging. Make sure, it's connected good, make sure the grounds are good, and make sure the belt is tight, and then verify if the alternator is still charging, and if it isn't, then it's usually alternator. Also, don't forget to check if the timing belts are good. They're probably done a very long time ago, or they degrade over time because they're rubber. So make sure that timing belts are good and not brittle or cracking, and go ahead and replace that before they go out on you. Overall, these are very fun, awesome cars. These are just some things to look out for so you don't run into these problems while you're detailing the car. So if I had to say some things to do straight off the bat when you got your Ae92, make sure the suspension is good, lift it up, shake it down and everything. If it's not, definitely do the wheel bearings in the front so you don't have to worry about them. Definitely do the clutch master cylinder, the brake master cylinder. If they haven't been changed, I'd go ahead and do that. Change out the brake fluid and clutch fluid. Obviously, change the oil, and for sure, change the coolant on these, flush them out, and put in a brand new thermostat because they're really easy to do, really easy to access, and you won't break your neck, breaking down later on. So definitely do these little fun things. Or I mean, fun tips, I should say. Now, I hope this brought you lots and lots of value. If you want to see more stuff like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button. If you have anything I missed, be sure to comment that below. I'll catch you guys in the next one. A peace.